What's up, y'all? I'm Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, one of the highest rated hospitality podcasts in the world, brought to you by us at Schedulefly. We provide a very simple web based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, or you're on some software with tons of bells and whistles and features you don't need or use, Schedulefly is the perfect place for you. Easy to use, point, click, and go, and we'll take great care of you. Schedulefly.com, free trial, check it out. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Jason Morgan, CEO of ChopShop. Jason has been in this industry a long time with a lot of brands you know, including Zoe's Kitchen, and has built a really incredible business. They've got about 24 locations. They're company owned. They're growing. They're in Arizona, Texas, Georgia. He talked about, we just talked about everything, y'all, like the challenges they have, the opportunities they have. They have a really long tenure for employees and GMs. So we dove into that. We dove into some of the tools that they're using to be successful. We dove into, just kind of what hospitality means and how do you take that and scale that as you grow, and everything in between. It was a wide-ranging, intelligent, thoughtful, intentional, educational conversation for, I think we talked over an hour. Could have talked to him a lot longer. I try to respect people's time, but you're going to enjoy this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We would love, love, love a rating, whether it's on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Just click those stars, throw some comments in there. That is a great way for us to get this content to more people. The algorithms love ratings. So thank you. Appreciate you. More coming soon. Jason, just do me a favor, man. Introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, sure. I'm Jason Morgan. I'm the CEO of Original Chop Shop. I've been doing this for about 8 years now.
You have done a lot of other things as I look through your LinkedIn bio. Okay, so let me set the stage here. So we're just going to talk about hospitality. And we'll talk about your career, and we'll just take this wherever it goes. The
Okay.
only question that I ask everybody that comes on this podcast is I start out with, when and why did you get involved with hospitality initially?
So I guess I stumbled upon it a little bit. I went to school, liberal arts degree, went back to business school, got a finance and accounting degree, and thought I wanted to be an accountant to start with. And so I did that for about a year and a half with the company Arthur Andersen when it existed back in the day, and realized that really quickly that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And got lucky and there was a client, and it was a casino company in Tunica, Mississippi, that was looking for a financial type person to come and join their team. And I raised my hand, said I'd like to do that. And all of a sudden ended up working in a casino property in Mississippi. And I tell people that was one of the best jobs I think I could have ever had as a first job, because even though it was part of a large company, it's basically a standalone entity. And
Yeah.
so the people on that property ran a business that had $120 million of revenue and 20 million plus of EBITDA. And I got to see everything. So whether, all the marketing, all the accounting, all the finance, if I actually wore a white jumpsuit and counted the money one day to see how that process was going. And was super lucky to have a couple of people there that took an interest in me and took an interest in development and sort of taught me the basics of hospitality. And then it just started, it kept going from there. I like to tell people that part of my success, I think, is I've always been part of businesses that I'm a customer of. And for me, being a customer of, whether it's a casino or a hotel or now a restaurant, I think it gives you a different insight into what consumers want and what customers want. And so the advice I've given to my kids and other folks is like, go work somewhere where you like the product or use the product, because I think that will put you a step ahead of most everybody else.
Very, very true. How many kids do you have?
I have three kids. I have I guess, a 23-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 16-year-old. Two boys, and the youngest is a girl.
Oh, dude, in reverse order, you and I are like almost the exact same age.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, so they were probably about the same age. I'm 50. Where did you go to college?
I went to Vanderbilt.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Opelika, Alabama, which is a little small town just outside of Auburn University, central eastern Alabama. Pretty much everybody I grew up with goes to Auburn or Alabama, but it was a little bit too close to home for me, and so I was fortunate to go to Vanderbilt.
Great place to be. Okay. So, have you, I'm curious because I think it's such a meaningful and important thing for teenagers to do at some point is to work in hospitality. So have any or all of your kids, washed dishes or done anything for you or for somebody else that's a peer of yours?
I'm one for three. My oldest son worked for us at ChopShop for about 4 years, front of house job. He did deliveries as well, and but the other two not yet, but I think they will at some point.
I didn't recognize how meaningful that is until I started doing this podcast, Jason, which is, I mean, we've been doing this like 12 years. This is, I think you're episode 554 or
Wow.
something like that by the time we post it. So, um, and when I started doing this, I mean, literally like in 2010 or something like that, I just thought, well, this would be cool because I'm going to open a restaurant one day and I'm going to learn a bunch from a lot of really smart, successful people. And I'll just take what I learned from them and I'm going to open this restaurant. And it didn't take me that long to realize, heck, man, no, I'm not going to do that. Uh, it, but boy, is it an amazing skill set that you have when you are able to be successful in this business and certainly to do it for a really long period of time and across different brands as you have. It really occurred to me, and I did have this. I've had it with two of my kids so far. It's like I feel like if you go work in a restaurant, even if it's just a summer job, it gives you such a foundation for dealing with so many different things at one time, being the consumer, the fellow employees, your managers, and you're in this fast paced, dynamic environment where you have to learn soft skills, hard skills, and things that you can just like. To me, it's just this really good foundation. No matter what you're going to do, if you learn what hospitality really is and you learn it from somebody that's really good and you're surrounded by it, even if you don't get it when you're like 17 and you're doing a summer job, you'll start to realize when you get out and whatever it is you're going to do in life that you the skills you learn are so broad and diverse and so important. And that I think hospitality is the way any business should do business, right? Like, I don't care if you run I mean, we have a software business, but like I read Setting the Table and I'm like, that like you should treat your customers this way no matter what you're doing.
I totally agree with everything you said. It is we jokingly call it an RTB, which is really tough business, being restaurants, and
Yeah.
it's because every transaction has to be perfect. Like the consumer is expecting every transaction to be perfect. It's a tough business because that general manager is basically responsible for an entire business. They're hiring, they're firing, they're making food, they're making all kinds of financial decisions, within that restaurant. And it's super difficult. And you add competition to that, you add rising cost and labor to that, and it just becomes more and more difficult. From a executive manager standpoint, at someone that is works in hospitality but works mainly in the office. One of the things that you really learn pretty quickly when you go do work in a restaurant is empathy. Empathy for the people that are working there. I used to, with early in my career, if someone forgot to put a deposit in the system or forgot to do something, it really would irritate me a lot. And I've gotten a lot softer in my old age, and that I just realized there's so many more things that are more important that's happening inside the four walls of the shop that
Hmm.
if there's a reason probably they didn't do what I was expecting them to do from an administrative standpoint. So we've become a little bit more lax in terms of the administrative stuff happening so perfectly and timely. And I don't know, it's it's tough. It's tough business, but it's a great business. It's a rewarding business when you work and it works and it do well, and you see people, excited about what you're offering.
It can be a thin margin business, and there's a lot of stresses that come along with this business day and night. There's always, I always say I always feel like either a literal or a metaphorical fire could happen almost any day, right? Um, what at its core, what is it that really moves you and gets you excited about whatever hospitality means to you, Jason?
Yeah, so for me, I think just business in general, it's changed over time. I mean, I think today what I would tell you is that what gets me motivated is providing opportunities for people to grow.
Mm.
And I know that may sound corny, but it's truly what excites me. And I tell the story a lot. I changed jobs a lot. You looked at my LinkedIn, and every one, fortunately for me, was a step forward. And I changed jobs when sometimes I really didn't have to change jobs. And my wife's parents were like, "Why in the world are you changing jobs? You've got a great job." And I always changed when I felt like I had stopped growing, when I stopped learning, when I stopped being provided opportunity. It was rarely about money. It was just about personal growth. It was about pats on the back, whatever however you want to say it. Just when the growth stopped is when I got bored, or when I got antsy and started looking for something else. And so, what we've done here is we've tried to find a way to provide a growth mindset for the folks that are here and are working, whether they're a cashier or cook or a general manager or a regional manager. And we put things in place that you wouldn't see in place at a 24 unit concept. And we're seeing pretty big rewards from that. So a couple of just random stats. Our general managers have a tenure of about 4.5 years. The brand's only been around for 8 years. So that gives you an idea that when people come, they stay. Our top 15 hourly people in each of our restaurants across the brand have a tenure of 2.5 years. And so we're finding a way to keep the hourly folks in place. We're in a business that's typically just constant churn and turnover, but we've done some things, and we've provided some opportunities for folks that keep them excited and engaged. When we first started this 8 years ago, I went and, fortunately, I was 1 year, actually, I was like 1 month past my non-solicitation agreement with my prior company. And I went and I grabbed three sort of up and coming folks that I knew could do the jobs I was about to give them, but they'd never done the jobs before. And so I actually took a lot of pride in the fact that giving those opportunities to the folks and seeing them succeed, and seeing them grow and mature and take on more and more responsibility. And several of those people have left me at this point, and that's okay. I tell people another thing that's sort of odd is that uh, when you get hired into a small company like this, there's times where you may outgrow the company's growth. And no matter how good it is here, or great it is here, you may find yourself in a spot where I've maxed out my growth here. And so we've seen three people that I hired initially that have gone on to bigger and better things. And, we've wished them well, and they've blossomed, they succeeded, and I'm really excited for that. So that's a long-winded answer to what gets me going is just really providing opportunity for people.
Well, I find that it's a unique industry in a lot of ways, because I always find when folks like yourself have people that have been with you for a long time that have decided, you know what, I think I want to go do this myself. I've got this idea, and it just seems so common to me, which you may not find in a lot of other industries, for whoever they work for to say, man, we are going to miss you, and this is going to be a tough blow, but boy, am I excited for you, and we'll be there opening night, and we're going to support you, and call me every time you need anything or whatever. Like, I see that so much in this industry, and I think that's such a again, it goes back to what is hospitality all about. It's how you make people feel, and if you treat them well and you help them and they grow, and then you help them, launch them off into some great, like, that stuff always just comes back around in a lot of ways that, maybe they're not measurable, but we know it's there, and it's real.
Yeah, totally agree.
Um, what are some of the things that you're doing? I mean, that's a long tenure for both the GMs and some of your hourly employees. Like, give me some specifics. If somebody's listening to this going, Dang, that's pretty impressive. How is he doing that? Like, what are some of the things that you do without giving away the secret sauce?
Yeah, it's look, first and foremost, I think we treat people well. A lot of times the restaurant environments can be, very challenging and chaotic, and sometimes some foul language here and there, but that's not us at all. We treat people with respect, and I think that's where the foundation of what we're doing is that I think we've got a good group of people, good group of leaders, people that care, people that have empathy, and people that love the brand. And so when you start with that, and it sort of resonates down to everybody else. We provided career pathing is probably the best way to describe it in terms of how do I get from point A to point B. And we have regular check-ins for folks where we're not just doing reviews once a year. We're talking to people 2, 3, 4 times a year, giving them tools, giving them just things to keep them moving along. We're providing opportunities for GMs to, whether it's to become a training GM or an opening GM, or to travel and fix the store somewhere, like just giving those opportunities when they come about, pretty systematically. Like it's very well thought through. And our chief operating officer Kyle Frederick does most of that and has been the champion of most of that since we all started this 8 years ago. We also, in the last couple of years, as I think a lot of people may have pulled back from a benefit standpoint, we've actually gone the other way. And so we've done things like we put in a 401k match with a 3% match. We put in shift leader PTO. We put in an employee assistance plan from like a mental health standpoint where you can have a couple of counseling visits free a year. We've made it so that hourly folks can get paid the next day, and really a lot of things that everybody's doing pieces of this, but we put together a pretty good package that people get excited about. Another couple of interesting things about our brand is that we sort of ended up with 70% of our leadership at the store level, above store level and store level, is female. And it just sort of happened that way. But what we end up finding is that empathy and that caring and that nurturing and that customer engagement that we want. It seems like the female GMs and AGMs and regional managers sort of shine in that, and so they've all sort of bubbled to the top in this organization to lead the way. So it's a combination just of a lot of different things, but I think it goes back to just treating people well, being open, being honest, communicative in terms of how what's happening in the brand. Like people will find this crazy, but I send an email out every Monday to every GM with the sales for the prior week. And will people share it with people they shouldn't? Probably so. Will people leave and take it with them? Probably so. But just having that open line of communication, I think, goes a long way to how people feel about the brand, how people feel about me, how people feel about the rest of the team here. And so it's been really important to us. If you go back to COVID, we made when COVID hit in March, we said, look, we've got an opportunity to do a couple of things here. And one of the key things that was on our list was we think we have the opportunity to build goodwill with our employees and our team. And what we meant by that was we're going to communicate. We're going to provide masks and gloves. And back when all that was happening, we're going to do that. We're going to tell people how we're doing. It just was going to be an open book of everything. And I think that really helped us through that period of time where a lot of people struggled in that last part of 2020 and 2021. Our business went crazy from a sales standpoint. We were up 42% at the end of 2022 versus 2019 prior to COVID in same store. And it's like I don't know, it's just we did all these things that I don't know if we knew they were going to be as good as they were while we were doing them, but when you look back, it's like, man, we did a lot of things right there. And I think that bought goodwill as well, that allowed people to they want to be on the team, they want to stay with the team. And a lot of these folks have had really negative experience in other restaurant concepts. And so when they see how we do it versus how it was in the last place they were at, I think they're less likely to leave.
We were introduced by Rachel Nemeth at Opus. Is that did you all use that platform?
We've been using it for, just under 6 months at this point.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's a learning management system that is video based. It's, you know, in the old days of having a binder with all the policies and procedures and everything in it, and just giving that binder to someone saying learn this. That doesn't work anymore as far as we're concerned. So we had been using a competitor for a couple of years that was more video based training, gamified, uh, and we found Opus to be a better product than where we were. And so we heavily focus on whether it's marketing, new store, or LTO type rollouts, any kind of campaign rollouts, and also new hires to run them through this process and run them through the what the brand's about, and have quizzes about what the brand's about. And we've gotten just unbelievable participation in terms of, I think we're over 80% in terms of the participation that we're getting at the hourly level inside the brand. So it's just an easy way to get information out to people. It's an easy way to comprehend it. People are already on their phones. People already, are used to opening apps and going through, different things and watching short clips of videos. And so we have found it to be very, very helpful.
Well, I wanted to bring that up because I have a lot of respect for Rachel. I've had her, she's been on the podcast. We've gotten to know each other, and I think she's an incredible business person, and just has a great mix of awesome business acumen, a great product, a great heart. So I just wanted to give her a tip of the hat on here. When you mentioned so you're able to pay your employees the next day. How do you do that?
Yeah, so we actually are in a PEO. We're working with
Okay.
Fourth, and they are they're Fourth and Hot Schedules combined several years ago, and so we're using Hot Schedules for some scheduling, and we're using Fourth for payroll. And so they have a built-in program. I think it's called Fuego that they've linked to that allows for those hourly folks to be paid the next day if they desire to be paid the next day.
Gotcha. Okay. That's pretty cool. That's very cool. And then I saw that you were on Zach Oates' podcast recently. I saw that on LinkedIn, like real recently. I think Ovation. I don't know him, but I've heard good things about Ovation.
I tell you, Ovation may be one of the best things we've done in the last couple of years in terms of software implementation. Um, I told him and put in the LinkedIn post, 8 years of operation for ChopShop, and we had 18,000 Google reviews over the course of 8 years. With Ovation, we're sending basically a short form survey to all online orders for us, which is about 25% of our orders come from direct digital through the website or the app. And in less than 3 months, we had 20,000 reviews of our brand. And the software is great. It distills it down into a star rating for each shop. It ranks people. It gives you common themes of what is what people are saying positively, what people are saying negatively. It allows you to respond directly to them through a text message. That's how the message is going to them through text. So it feels a little bit more personal. Um, we get comments all the time where people go, "I can't believe this is a real person, like responding to me." And I think folks get those surveys, they fill them out, and then they don't expect to hear back from anybody, or they expect to hear back from a bot of some kind. And
Yep.
when the GM types back a message, that's obviously a personal message. I think first they're shocked that someone actually responded, and that was a real person. And so we gain a little bit of goodwill there from the consumer. We can also recover through that as well. So whether it's we can offer vouchers and for recovery, we can because we have their email address, we can use our loyalty program to offer recovery as well. And so it's pretty fantastic. And just the data and the information that we're getting is really good. And what I wish I'd put in the LinkedIn post, a little bit of a self brag for us. Like, we run a 4.7 in Ovation in terms of a star rating, which is just slightly better than our 4.6 that we're running in Google. And so if you look at brands today out there, outside of folks that might be manipulating the system, man, there's almost nobody at the level that we're at 4.6, 4.7. The Chipotle's of the world are sub four. The Cavas are in the low fours. I mean, 4.6, 4.7 is just almost unbelievable that many people are loving what we're doing. one of the things that we don't talk a lot about, we're going to start talking a little bit more about, is that one of the things I think that made Zoe's Kitchen very successful was we had an emotional connection to the guest. There was just a positive feeling that the guest came when they came in, whether it was if we knew their name or whether it was just the food made them feel good, but there was a positive connection to the brand from an emotional standpoint. Most of these brands today have gone to a scoop and serve model. I jokingly call it prison style. My wife says it'd be nicer to call it cafeteria style, like in a school lunchroom style. But it's very transactional in nature, right? And so you're walking the line. You're pointing to what you want. There's almost no interaction of, how's your day? What's going on? Thanks for coming in. There's almost no one in the dining rooms cleaning tables or touching guests in any way. And so we've done it differently. And I think that we're one of the few brands out there today that has an emotional connection built into the guest because of our service model, because of our team, because of the hospitality standards that we strive for. And so, hopefully that will pay off in the long run for us. I think it will. It's tough being a small, 24 unit restaurant company and trying to compete against the Chipotle's and Cavas of the world that have much bigger brands and much bigger marketing budgets and much better brand awareness because of the number of stores they have. But I think we're on the right track.
Look, I could not agree more. You may as well at some point just have, well-functioning robots doing the serving and stuff. To me, there's this sort of bifurcation happening where it's like, if it's all tech, okay, like that's fine. Like maybe if I go to McDonald's or whatever, if there's just like one person in there that maintains the equipment and I just want that's fine. Like, I mean, not to knock their brand, but I do feel like there's a polarization happening. But dude, I don't care how much tech's out there. We people we want validation, we want connection, we want communication, we want to feel appreciated, and there's no freaking robot or tech that can do that. It's people. It's messy, it's hard, but if you can get it right, it's valuable and it's very palpable and it's potent and it does, the flip side, I get you. Like 24 units competing against some of these other ones. But the flip side of that coin is, I mean, from my perspective, and I know of Cava, obviously. You read about them all the time, and there's several around us. I'm in, South Charlotte or whatever. But the experience I've had with Chipotle has gone, down over the years. I mean, and it depends on which one and all that kind of stuff. But it becomes this thing that's just like, everything's about the expense side of the balance sheet. And then there's like, it's just, so you have this opportunity smaller where you're, David Glaff, whatever, you're nimble, you're agile, and you can. And I mean, the question I always have for guys like you, Jason, is like, as you grow, how do you maintain that magic, that alchemy of like growth mixed with that interpersonal connection? Because we all want that, and people that get it right, it's just there's so little of it now because of what you talked about, the prison style, the cafeteria style, all the tech, the screens and everything else, that like I feel like the people that get it right have a really big advantage, not knowing anything, but just my intuition tells me
So
that.
the challenge is that it's a lot less expensive to do it the way they're doing it.
Right.
It's a lot less expensive to have someone that can perform a function of a cook and can also scoop your food into the dish on the line, whether they speak English or not, right? Or whether they have a conversation or not. Like it's a lot less expensive to do it that way. They're running half the people that I'm running, in a typical lunch shift, and they run 25%, labor margins when I'm probably closer to 30% labor margins. And so it's hard to compete like when you can beat that when you get the sales, right? So if our sales were to jump up higher than they are, we'll look better. It'll look better, but the sales have to grow when you get brand awareness. And so how do you get brand awareness? Well, you have to grow stores. Well, how do you grow stores? Well, you have to have good return on investment. It's like this circular loop that you sort of get yourself in. And look, there are very few people. I mean, if you really look today around the country, there's very few 20 plus unit brands that are growing in a corporate structure, non-franchise, and are growing outside of their base market.
Mm,
It's because it's just hard. It's hard to do. It's hard to open up stores and not be there every day and not it's just it's difficult. So how we will do it. And look, we did a lot of things right at Zoe's Kitchen, like a lot of things right. I left that at 150 stores at pretty much a peak, and the things that we didn't do right, we took and said we're going to do those better here at ChopShop. Like my entire senior team is Zoe's Kitchen folks that were there from. Some folks were there from store 12. Actually, one
mm,
person was there from store 2, right? And so one of the things that we felt like we did not do well towards the end was the people side of the business.
yeah.
And so we didn't train people well enough. We didn't provide opportunities for people well enough. We probably didn't screen people well enough in the interview process. We gosh, we grew too fast so that there were more new people coming in from the outside of the company than people being promoted from the inside of the company. And so you just sort of saw that the culture deteriorate, as it went from 150 stores to 200 stores to 300 stores, and then ultimately the demise of being sold to Kava. So it's we're heavily focused on the people side, and like the stats I shared earlier, we feel like we're getting a lot of it right. One of the other things that we felt like we messed up on back in the Zoe's days was we overburdened our regional managers, where we gave them 8 stores, 10 stores. I think one person had 13 stores at one time. And so we've made a point not to do that. We typically would hire people maybe less experienced here at ChopShop, people that have grown up through the GM route, and we'll put them in a regional job, but we'll give them 4 stores and all in the same market so that they can grow and they can learn and sort of on the job training with that. And it's small enough, the company's small enough that we can have a lot of influence of what they're doing and how they're looking at things, and just sort of be there to help them when we need to. So people will be the big part of it. The question is how fast will we be able to grow awareness, to grow sales, to keep going. That's where it becomes tricky.
You're in Texas, Georgia. Where else?
Arizona.
Arizona.
So the brand started in Arizona. We had 3 units there. We bought the brand in 2016. We are up to 9 stores in Phoenix, the Phoenix area. We have a store in Tucson. Those stores just absolutely kill it. Just absolutely kill it. Higher AUVs than the big guys, nationwide brands, higher AUVs there. We went to Dallas as our second market, partly because Dallas looked a lot like Phoenix in terms of demographics and consumer. Partly also because we all lived in Dallas, because Zoe's had moved us from Birmingham to Dallas, and so we were all here. And I jokingly say that it's rare that you get to run a company where the second market you go to is the market that you're living in.
Yeah.
Right. So most of the time, the founders would have been in Phoenix and they would have opened up Dallas, and they would never have been here, once a month or once every other month, and been relying on, a regional manager or general manager to run these shops. We were fortunate. We were here, like whole team was here. And so we were in the shops every day. And so I think that had a big part of the positive start to Dallas, and how the brand was accepted and how the culture maintained. And so we have, we're opening so many stores these days. I'm losing count of how many we have here. I think we have 9 here as well. We just opened our first store in Fort Worth, and the sales in Dallas are 25% less than Phoenix, but are still growing, and we believe in time will match the Phoenix stores. Where we've struggled a bit is we have 2 stores in Atlanta and 2 stores in Houston. And we've struggled with staffing in Atlanta quite a bit. We've struggled just with brand awareness in both markets. We weren't able to get store 3, 4, and 5 open in those markets. Like one of the things that we believe is that you've got to have 4 to 6 stores open in a matter of a 2 to 3 year time period in order to gain that awareness and get the people just all tides rise with those extra stores. And from a lack of real estate availability, we just haven't seen much that we like in either of those markets. Lack of a little bit of lack of capital in terms of having to be selective of where we do spend the money that we have to open up. We've sort of dredged along with those markets and 2 stores in each of those markets. And so we've got a 3rd store opening in Houston next week in the Woodlands, and we've got a 3rd store opening in Atlanta in Alpharetta in early October. And so we're hopeful that those will help those existing stores there as we get open. But that's probably the most difficult thing we're doing right now is trying to get those Houston, Dallas, 3rd and 4th markets working and growing.
Atlanta's tricky, although I will tell you, I've spoken to 2 people today that live in Atlanta, and both of them said, "Oh, Chop Shop, yeah, that place is awesome." So,
Love it. Love it.
anecdotal, but 2 for 2. Friends of mine that I mentioned, I was like, yeah, I'm having this guy as a CEO of Chop Shop, and
Yeah.
yeah, I know that place. It's really good.
Yeah. So this is the challenge. Like the people that go love it. Back to the 4, 6, 4, 7 stars ratings that we're getting. The people that go love it. We're just not getting enough people to go.
Yeah.
And it's like I live in the suburbs of Dallas. I live right near Allen. We have a store there. It's been there for 4 years, maybe 5 years at this point. And I'd say I meet every of 10 people that I meet that should be our customer from a just demographics should be our customer. 9 out of 10 people have never been.
Mm.
And I go, man, why haven't you been? Well, the first thing is like, well, we thought you were a steakhouse. I'm like, well, get on Google and Google it. Like you can figure out pretty quickly that we're not a steakhouse. And then I think people in the last couple of years have gotten a little bit more wary of trying new things as they've cut their visits back. And so they're going to the tried and true places that they know, and they know what the experience is going to be. So what used to happen, it's so weird. What used to happen back in the Zoe's days was you'd open a store and it'd be organic growth almost immediately. Like somebody would go, they'd love it, they'd tell 2 of their friends, they'd tell 2 of their friends, and you'd have this sort of pyramid sort of workout. And all of a sudden, you 2nd year you were up 15%, the 3rd year you were up 10%. It was automatic. I don't see that anymore. I don't see that with us. I don't see that with other small restaurant operators that I talk to. It's much more of a grind. What we've seen and what I've heard from folks is that as they open these new markets, that they're not their home market, I would tell you that people typically would start 70 to 80% of their average in terms of 1st year sales. We see people starting at 25 to 40% of their average. And at 25 to 40% of your average, you don't make money. You don't even come close to making money. And so you're seeing a lot of brands that are highly successful in their home markets that go to an Atlanta and they open a couple of stores, and within 6 months they close those couple of stores because it just didn't work. So we're not doing 25 to 40%, but we're not quite to that number that we need to be at. We're doing better, I think, than most, but man, that's where the challenge is.
So you own all the locations. Do you own your real estate, or do you lease, or both?
So we lease everything.
Yeah. Okay.
We lease everything. We typically will take like 2,700 square feet in cap location, retail strip center. We like to have patios wherever we go. We've gotten really fortunate in the last 2 stores that we've opened. We opened a store in Tucson and we opened the store in Fort Worth in the last couple of months, where they were ground up developments. So real estate developer had a piece of property. They wanted to put basically almost like a QSR type piece of property. And they wanted to basically do the site work and lay a foundation and give us some TI money to build a restaurant. And so we were able to design and build 2 brand new prototype restaurants that are absolutely stunning in terms of look and feel. Typically when you take one of these retail strip centers, you have to do whatever the landlord's already done. You have to just take it. And sometimes the cities won't let you change much of anything on the outside exterior. So you can only work within the 4 walls. Here, we were able to design the whole thing. And so They're really magnificent buildings. They were probably a couple $100,000 more than what we typically would have spent, but we end up with a standalone location. We end up with great branding. We end up with a pickup window in both locations as well. And so far so good. The Tucson shop has opened up north of where we expected, and Fort Worth's only a week and a half old, but it's opened up really well also. So I don't know how many more of those we'll do. Those are I'd love to do more of them, but we don't really see those opportunities that much. Typically, when we see those opportunities, the costing of the site work and everything has to be done basically creates a rent structure that's not acceptable for us in terms of what the landlord needs to make back in rent for the work that they've done. I'm not sure why or how these worked out, but they did work out, and so we're excited to have them.
You looking at Charlotte?
I love Charlotte. I'd like to be in Charlotte. We've done multiple trips to Charlotte. Haven't been the last year and a half or so. If Atlanta had opened up stronger, we probably would already be in Charlotte. I like the Zoe stores in Charlotte were some of the best stores. They started super slow. That Blakeney store is out in the suburbs. Man, that store, the first year, that was our first store in North Carolina. That first year, it did $750,000 in sales.
I went to that store. I bet my family was a measurable percentage of those sales, my friend. We used to
Yeah,
live right around the corner from that. That place was
yeah,
hopping. Y'all had to expand. You couldn't even, you had
yeah.
to open next door.
Yeah, so the 750 was about half of what a typical Zoe's would do, and we all thought we like this isn't going to work. Like sort of like we were talking earlier, like this we need to close this thing down. And as we opened the second, third, fourth stores in Charlotte, that store went from 750 to 2.5 million, and was like one of the best stores in the brand. So we'd love to be in Charlotte. We've looked at real estate. Real estate's super scarce everywhere. Like if you want to be inside the loop and not suburban, it's almost impossible to find anything. And when you do find something, there's 10 people lined up to give the same LOI that you want to give, and the rents go to an astronomical amount. And we've been very careful not to sign deals that we don't think we can make money in.
Well, yeah, that's so funny that you know that specific store. I mean, I lived like literally like 5 minutes from that for
Yeah,
15
yeah,
years. And so we were
yeah,
there. I mean, we moved out there when like Blakeney was dirt. They were just putting up Target or whatever and Harris Teeter. And then I mean, I remember when Zoe's open, we went there all the time. It was like one of the very few places with young kids that like
yeah.
everybody liked something.
Sure.
So, well, sure, but the reason I asked about Charlotte, not partially because I'm here, because I'm just seeing, I mean, the amount of growth here is just off the hook. And when you start getting into Fort Mill and Rock Hill and just, everything that's going on around here. I have a really good friend, Trey Morgan. You may have even come across him, but he does a lot of real estate development sort of in what he says SEC country, right? So Southeast
Yeah.
and Trey does a lot of these Publix groceries, public centers with places like this as an end cap. So if you ever want to get connected with him, he's always looking to meet folks like yourself because
Yeah,
he's really good at what he does. Top
absolutely.
notch.
I love to meet everybody. So yeah, passing my way. We hopefully we'll get to Charlotte sometime in the next few years. And I mean, there's lots of markets like Charlotte, Austin,
Yep.
Nashville,
Yep.
Jacksonville, Florida is be a great place. The
Yep.
Carolinas were really good for us back at Zoe's, and so Columbia, Greenville,
Yeah.
like everywhere
Greenville.
through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really really great. And so look, we think we have something that is highly differentiated versus what everybody else is doing. And what I mean by that is most everybody today is doing a singularly focused menu, meaning that I'm selling a burger, I'm selling hot chicken, I'm selling pizza, I'm selling juice, I'm selling a Mexican bowl or a Mediterranean bowl. In a chop shop, you can come and you can get a bowl, you get a salad, you get a sandwich, you can get juice, you get breakfast in the mornings, you get an acai bowl. And it's such a wide, diverse menu that you can come eat with us 2, 3, 4 times a week and have something very, very different each time you come. And at the same time, at a price point that is maybe $1 higher than Chipotle, and several dollars less than the other sort of healthy concepts in our space, like a flower child or a sweet green or even a chopped, creative salad. Like we're going to be a couple bucks, if not more or less than those folks. And so we've got someone that's like in the middle, and there aren't many people competing in the middle today. What you typically see we don't talk about us being healthy. We talk about healthful or better for you. But in that better for you space, you typically see high price points and low value on the plate. And we feel like we have the exact opposite of that. We feel like our portion sizes are pretty great. The price point's pretty great. I mean, you can come eat at a shop with an entree and a drink for like 15 bucks. And these days when I go through Chick-fil-A, I'm spending $12 for my 12 nugget
Dude.
meal, or
Yep.
yeah, and it's like you can have, and if you're going in Chipotle, you're spending $14, $15 if you're adding guacamole to your bowl, and you're eating, dark meat chicken instead of we have white meat chicken in our bowls, and we're making everything in the shops. That's the other thing that you see a lot more today than you did. And this is all cost function, is that a lot of people are making this food somewhere else, right? They're making it in a commissary, and they're trucking it in, or they're prepackaging it somewhere else and bringing it in. I mean, we're making everything. We're chopping and dicing, and every sauce is made inside the shop as well on a daily basis. All the proteins are cooked inside the shop on a daily basis, and so ultimately the consumer can taste that, and I think that's why we're winning in our space. It's just I get more people. I get more people coming in the door, so that we can keep growing and keep doing this.
It's funny you said that because literally as you started talking about that, in my mind, I started calculating what I just spent just the other day at Chick-fil-A for uh we got takeout, and it was literally for my mom and my son, and they both wanted a combo. But it was like I think we substitute. I don't know what we did. Anyway, it was like 28 bucks. And I'm like, wait a minute. How
Yeah,
what? I just got two combo like what?
right.
Sure, mom got
Chick-fil-A
the
has two
frozen
combos.
yeah, it's it blew me away. Like most of the time I'm just kind of going through and whatever, and I'm not paying as much attention as I clearly should.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that that's how much for Chick-fil-A. I mean, I get it if I went to a place like yours. But
Yeah, we've been very purposeful too. We've only taken about half the price that most of our competitors have taken since COVID. Most everybody's up 50% or so, around that range. We're like 25%.
yeah,
We've done that purposely because look, we have about a third of our stores in the suburbs. And in the suburbs, I just don't think that housewife is going to pay $20 for a salad for lunch,
nah.
a couple times a week. And so we've kept the pricing, I think, very fair. My board would tell me that I need to raise the pricing, right? That they're all financial types like me. And I'm like, well, we need more profit, so let's raise prices. I'm like, well, I think if we can hold, because we're, one of the things we haven't told you is we're profitable as a business. So we've made money every single year we've run the business. And what I mean by that is that if you take the store level profitability and you subtract the corporate expense, it's a positive number. And most folks at this level lose a ton of money. And even some of the bigger guys, at the Sweet Greens of the world, they made their first EBITDA positive quarter, I think last quarter or maybe 2 quarters ago. Like they've been in existence for 15 plus years, and same for Kava, and so we're doing it in a way where we're priced very fairly, and with that price we're able to still be profitable. And so like let's just keep doing that, and introduce people to the brand, and give more people a chance to eat the brand at a fair price.
Easy to sit on a board and look at numbers on a spreadsheet and say raise prices. But I hear you. I'm glad you're sticking with that as long as you can. So let me ask you this: Jason? Are you part of the I think it's in February, this workforce management summit that's coming down your way?
I'm not, haven't heard of that.
All right, gotcha. I'm trying. We haven't really gone to conferences. Went to the National Restaurant Association show in 2009. Spent 15 grand. Got a bad stomach virus, realized that it was like, we may as well just burn the money and stay at home. But anyway, so that left a scar, but we're starting to consider getting to some of these things. I think it's important to kind of, keep growing our network and so forth. So I've been talking to those folks and I was just curious. I thought that I remembered them saying something about you being a part of that, but I guess not. Okay. Do you go a lot of
We,
conferences?
I typically don't. And
Yeah.
so we would go, I'll go to the restaurant finance show in November. I pretty much have been to that every year. I've been doing this.
Why that one?
Uh, lots of finance people, lots of bankers, lots of private equity folks. Back when I was a CFO, lots of CFOs. It's a good conference to go tell your story to the people that could participate in your growth at some point
Okay.
down the line. And
Okay.
so that's a good one. And then restaurant leadership in April, that's typically in April in Arizona, is a good one as well. More smaller companies like us, very good access to people, great networking. I've always enjoyed that one as well. This year I've peppered in a couple more. I've gone to, I think, a couple of QSR conferences that they've asked me to speak at. So I've done those, and I've enjoyed that. Conferences, I'm sure like you, like I go and I go, okay, let's. It's nice to be able to speak and tell the story, and part of me likes telling the story, and part of me is like, I don't really want to give away the secrets that I think we're doing things differently.
Yeah.
And but then I told Zach on his podcast that I get a little bit like, oh my gosh, like everybody's doing the same thing. It's like everybody's talking about the same 5 initiatives, and everybody's working on digital and efficiencies in the kitchen, and I leave there always a little bit like, oh, maybe we aren't doing things as well as what I think we're doing them. And so I've gotten myself to the point where I believe that everybody is working on the same things, but the people that are succeeding are executing them better, or executing them in a way that's different, unique. I like to pride ourselves on not always doing exactly what the norm is. Um, I guess a good example is our loyalty program. I think it would have been very easy for us to go and have the loyalty provider just put us into whatever everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that. We pushed it. Like, can you do this? And can you do this? Can you do this? And they're like, well, yes, but no one's ever asked us to do those things. I go, well, okay, that's what we want to do. And like how we market to our guests is very different. It's like, it's just finding a unique way to stand out. I think is part of the success that we're having as well, is that we're just not doing it the same way everybody's always done it.
Well, it's funny because, you mentioned you don't want to give away some of the secrets of what y'all are doing, but and I know you know this, so I'm sure you're gonna nod vigorously, but dude, it doesn't matter what you give away because it's all about execution, right?
Yes,
Like, I mean, like you could leave your
100%.
playbook on a freaking airplane and somebody picks it up it's just execution. And there's plenty of room for, one of the things that's great about hospitality, it's such a collaborative business and it's sort of a rising tide lifts all boats. I've learned that a lot too. Like people, you want other restaurants to open near you because you want this ecosystem of restaurant, patrons to be around there. And there's a great community of just sharing ideas and helping each other. And it's a small world. And I think it's an incredible industry. For so many reasons. But yeah, execution it's all it is, right? It's every day just and it's why I mean you're kind of hearing me think through this stuff and forgive me, but I think about going to these conferences because our big problem, like I mean, our problem at Schedulefly is awareness, right? Like we've been doing this 17 years, but I've learned over the last year and a half, nobody really knows we exist unless you've used us. And so I try to figure out ways to create more awareness, but I'm like, yeah, but a investment in a conference and a booth and telling the story and all that's fine, but it also takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. Versus just like putting your head down every day and just keep, doing what you're doing. And so anyway, do you know Aubrey Linville by any chance? He's here in North Carolina. He does, he just, they're always looking to, work. I guess they work with franchises. And then you were connected in some way with Jeff Brock, I
Yes,
saw. Okay.
yes.
So he literally came, like, I didn't even know that until I was looking on your LinkedIn thing. He was in here 1 week ago recording in
Okay,
this
great.
studio for this podcast.
Okay,
So he lives, up in Raleigh or whatever, and I'd
yeah.
I'd gotten connected to him, so I just had him in here as well. And probably goes to a lot of those conferences where you guys are or were partners or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So I met Jeff after I exited Zoe's, and I'll tell you a funny story since you know Jeff. I was looking at buying a different concept in Dallas, and it was a hamburger concept that I really, really liked. And I'd hired a banker to help me raise the money, and we had basically narrowed it down to, like, I had a couple of groups that I thought were going to give me money to go buy this concept. And the banker said, "You need to meet Jeff Brock." And so I was like, "Okay, great. I'll go meet Jeff Brock." And I'm shocked I didn't know Jeff, because Jeff knows everybody in the
It seems
industry.
like it, yeah.
He knows he may be the best networked
I
person
think he
in the
might be.
entire industry. And so we went and we had a drink at this restaurant that I was trying to buy. And within the first 5 minutes of meeting Jeff, he goes, "You're never going to get this done." He goes, "You're never going to get this deal done." And Jeff, for those of you who don't know Jeff, Jeff is a boisterous, a little bit loud at times in a good way. Big personality. He and I are very, very different. Extrovert versus introvert. He's like, "You're never going to get this done. This guy is not going to sell you the business, and you're gonna get close, and he's going to move the carrot away." And I go, "Man," I was like, "We just met. Like I get shit done. Like, I'm going to get this done. Like this is like I rarely have not gotten something done that I want to get done. It's like, I'm going to get this done." And he said, "Well, when you don't get it done, I want you to call me back, and we're going to go into business together. We're going to be partners." And I went home and I told my wife, I was like, "I met this bozo of a guy that is telling me that I'm not going to get this done." And I was like, lo and behold, he was right. And the deal did not happen. And when the deal didn't happen, I called Jeff back, and Jeff was coming out of a family office in Raleigh that was buying restaurants, that no longer wanted to buy restaurants. And he had a couple of live deals, and he had the deals where he had the relationships with the founders, but he didn't have any money, and he didn't have anybody to operate the businesses. And I was like, "Well, I can build a team to do it, and I think between the two of us, we can raise the money." And so we partnered up, and we raised the money to buy ChopShop, and we raised the money to buy another concept that we ultimately bought and changed the name to Bella Green. We don't own that anymore. And so that's what we did. And then about 2 years in, I decided to step away from that partnership, and focus 100% on running these businesses. And he kept going, trying to find and buy other businesses. And he's still on our board at ChopShop, and so we still talk there all the time. But he's doing his own thing, and I'm sort of doing my own thing at this point.
That is amazing. Well, it's so funny you said he's like the most connected guy. I literally talked to a dude yesterday. Uh-oh. No, okay, there we go. We lost you for a sec. I talked to a guy yesterday that I went to high school with. I haven't talked to him in probably 25 years. And he was asking what I'm doing. And he literally goes, "Do you know a guy? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's in Raleigh and he's really well connected. And he's been, and I said, it's not Jeff Brock, is it?" He goes, "Yes, it's Jeff Brock." I'm like, "Really? You know him? You're not even in the rest." He goes, "Yeah, but I think he knows everybody in the restaurant industry from what I remember." I'm like, "Well, apparently so."
Yes, everybody.
Well, that's cool. Well, Jason, what a pleasure. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I really do hope that if you are coming to Charlotte, I'd love to hang and rap with you. I mean, I'm still out. Like, we moved down to Waxhaw, but that whole Blakeney, now there's Waverly and Ray Farm. Dude, the growth is freaking nuts out there. But I'd love to have you. I will introduce you to Trey Morgan via email. And if you guys, we just connect and talk or whatever, but super good dude. I know him personally as a friend. So, I mean, I trust him. I also know him as a business person. He's really freaking good at what he does. So he's probably a good guy to know if y'all look kind of to expand in the Southeast, maybe he can help in some way.
Great. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate having me on as well.
Yeah. And by the way, if you know Zach, I'd love to get him on here to tell his story on this podcast because I've
Okay.
heard this is the third time now. Josh Halpern talked about Zach, Josh
Yep,
Halpern from Big Chicken, and I cannot remember off the top of my head, but somebody else talked about Zach, or they talked specifically about Ovation and how great Ovation is. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to get connected with that guy if it if it makes sense.
absolutely. I'll make that happen.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap, y'all. Appreciate you listening and watching. More episodes coming soon. See ya.